Good evening. It's another Wednesday here in Houghton, New York. It's at HC Highlanders Live. I'm Jason Muker, Associate AD, and I'm joined by Matt Webb, our Athletics Director here at the college. Just providing some updates. There are a few things to report. The college got a hopeful message from the president, went out to all constituents about looking very good for opening in the fall with everything going on with COVID-19. We're planning to open with students on campus in the fall. How that looks, it's going to be a little different. If you want to check that, if you're an alum or a student, you can check that email from the president, or even prospective student athletes received it as well. So that's hopeful here in New York, because things are opening up a little bit, obviously with some limitations. And the good thing this past week, I don't know if it's good or not, but we went from a record low of like 27 degrees a week and a half ago to a record high of 91 degrees 2 days ago. Still in the 80s today. Rain is held off, but beautiful. I was just on campus this morning, and it looks beautiful. We've always joked that the campus looks the most beautiful during those 3 months when people aren't here, but that's just the nature of the Northeast and Northeast nature. But it is a beautiful campus, beautiful day here in Houghton, and just wanted to provide you a little bit of update. I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and he's going to talk a little bit about our special guest for today.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what you said, the weather's been awesome, and the last few days, I've particularly enjoyed getting out on my deck, doing some reading in the morning before the rest of my family gets out of bed, and just enjoying the nice weather. Although I do feel a little cooped up inside doing all these Zoom meetings that I'm having to do, looking out my window, and it's nice and sunny. And I think later today I'm going to get back out on the Houghton Disc Golf Course, which has become a bit of a regular routine for a lot of people. Actually, the paths are becoming very clear and apparent through the woods, and it's getting a lot of use. In terms of starting up in the fall, yeah, the message that came out from President Mullen yesterday or in the last day or two, to all incoming students and to our community, very strong indication, as we're planning to be open in the fall residentially. And how that looks on campus, it's going to feel a little different. There's going to be some different kinds of expectations of how we do a lot of things, and how that impacts athletics is still yet to be determined. But that's a large part of what we're working on now in terms of how that looks, what our events look like, in terms of facilitating spectators, and just policies and procedures in terms of how we travel, how we do different things. And so it's all coming together. It's exciting in that regard, but the fall is going to look a little different. So, but we're excited that we're actually going to have a fall, and our students are going to be here. So we're really looking forward to that. Today's guests, sort of a special day, I guess, although that would indicate that other guests weren't special, and that's not what I'm meaning. But we're having a family join us today from our department. And so Coach Hannah Ogden and her husband Luke are both former student athletes themselves at Houghton, and they've got a young family, 2 little boys, Brooks and Ezra, and I think probably at some point here we might see them. By the way, you guys are muted. You're going to have to unmute yourself when we get to that point. So I didn't actually do the research, so I might get the years wrong, but I think, Hannah, did you graduate in 2015?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I graduated early, so technically the same year, but in
2015. And Luke, you graduated 2016?
No, I graduated in 2014.
14. Okay. So Luke and Hannah, alums of Houghton. Hannah was a 4-year field hockey player. Luke was a goalkeeper for the men's soccer team for 4 years. And so maybe just to get things going here, the 2 of you, how did you each end up choosing Houghton? How'd you end up at Houghton in terms of the options that you had?
I'll go.
Hannah, you first.
Hannah, you first.
Okay. I ended up at Houghton in kind of an unusual way. I always kind of joke with recruits that my visit here was in September, and I went to a game, and in the span of the first half, it rained and it snowed and it hailed, and all the players were wearing sleeveless uniforms. And I was like, there's no way I'm coming here. This is absolutely absurd.
In September.
In September, yeah. And like nobody was fazed, like nobody blinked twice at what was going on. My mom and I were just like, what is happening? But yeah, my siblings all kind of hit up. We're kind of your Christian college family, Gordon, Cedarville, Messiah, and I am the youngest. And so I wanted to be different. And I really wanted to spend 4 years playing field hockey and competing and being on the field. That was really important to me. And so, yeah, this is just kind of where I found myself because of that.
Luke, how about you? How'd you end up choosing Houghton?
I had decided early on that I didn't want to go to a Christian college, which is really strange because I ended up at a Christian college. And like I had looked at some Pennsylvania state schools. I'm from Pennsylvania. I looked at a few Pennsylvania state schools. I had looked at Penn State, and kind of by sheer happenstance, my sister, who had gone here, had said, like, why don't you just go for a visit? Just go for a visit to Houghton. Like, I think you'll really enjoy it. And so I went for a visit. And when I came here, I was just really kind of blown away by the people that I met, the interactions that I had with guys on the soccer team, interactions that I had with just random people on campus. And I kind of decided, like, it was just different than any other visit that I had had up to that point. And I decided that I wanted to go to school here truly because of the people that I had interacted with and the experience that I had while I was on a visit, which, I mean, it wasn't long, but it was enough to kind of just say, yeah, this is where you need to go.
And I know you ended up as a music major, but that's not how you came in, right?
No, that's not how I started. I started as an education major, history education, and really kind of missed music. I had done music for a long time. I had been a music guy, and I just really kind of missed doing that. And I kind of had a life-changing moment in the middle of my time here. My grandfather had passed away, and there was a bit of regret, I think, with the way that I had kind of dealt with his passing, and the kind of, like, he had, his love for music, and I kind of missed a bit of what I was able to offer, and I didn't want to make that mistake again. And so I, decided to kind of commit my life to educating music and, doing music, and as much as I possibly could, and kind of change my major from education to history, or no, from education to music, and then decided to go on to get my master's in vocal performance and pedagogy at Penn State, and then came back here to teach. I mean, I love it. And it's something that I get to wake up every morning, get to do what I love to do. So I can't fault me for that.
No, that's perfect. So why don't you, Hannah, tell us a little bit of how you and Luke met? At what point in I know you met at Houghton, but like, how did that happen? And obviously you started dating, and then it's all history from there. But how'd that all start?
Well, it's interesting. Luke has a brother who is older than Luke, and he was my high school math teacher in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, at a small Christian school there. And math is a subject that makes me cry. So our relationship wasn't super strong at the time. But I knew that he had a brother that went to Houghton, but I didn't really think much of it. And I came into Houghton, like I said, not really thinking much of it. But Luke's brother told Luke that I was coming to Houghton, and just said, "Oh, there's one of my students, actually two of his students, one joining the men's soccer team and one joining the field hockey team, that you should get to know." And I guess Luke did get to know me then, and we started dating. Is there anything you want to add to that?
No,
that's
pretty, yeah, pretty good. I think it was one of those. My brother had told me that a couple of his students were coming up here, and he was like, just be nice. Get to know, make their, transition from high school to college, what it's like. Don't let them suffer, be kind. And so I had reached out to,
he was kind.
yeah, I was really kind. And it turns out that I was maybe too kind. It strung her along for a few years, I guess.
Hey, it worked.
Started a family together.
Yeah.
So speaking of your family, why don't you tell us a little bit about your family?
So we have 2 kids, 2 boys. Brooks is 2. He'll be 3 in September. And Ezra is 4 months. He was born in January 22nd, right before all of this craziness kind of started in. But they are wonderful. And
they're nuts.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Absolutely nuts. One of them is watching VeggieTales right now, and the other one is sleeping for now. And I'm sure they will shortly make an appearance when they feel like it's time to be done.
Yeah, well, we'll make them welcome when they make their appearance. For those who are listening who don't know, one of the things that I think is a little special about our department is we've got a lot of young coaches and families like Hannah and Luke with little kids, and it's not uncommon for the kids to make their way into the office, and other coaches have things in their office or a little basketball hoop hung on the drawer outside their office. So when the kids come, they know where to go. They know where to play. I know Brooks used to come into my office and he knew exactly where the soccer ball, football was. He knew what drawer it was in. Now he knows where the gumballs are. And so, he goes right for the gumball machine. So,
which he's not allowed to have gum. For anybody who's out there thinking we give our kids gum at the age of 2, we haven't given him any.
He's allowed to have a gumball if you guys aren't around.
Yeah, well, Matt has given him gum. So
right. Yeah. It takes a village, right?
So, well, we'll see Brooks and maybe Ezra a little bit later. I'm not even sure I said this in the introduction. Hannah is our head women's field hockey coach. Luke is an assistant coach with the men's soccer program. Hannah, why don't you tell us a little bit about just how long you've been coaching at Houghton and how that, you graduated from Houghton and came back to coach pretty much right away. How did that transpire, and was coaching something that you were wanting to do?
Yeah. So I graduated in December of 2014. So I kind of left mid-year. I guess my intention was to come back and walk and do those sorts of things, but I got a job and I never really did that. But I had a really great coach during my time at Houghton, and just someone that I learned a lot from and really valued. And in leaving Houghton, it wasn't really clear to me what my career path should be, but I knew I wanted to kind of keep learning from my coach at the time, Rachel. So I definitely had hopes of working alongside of her in the future, but wasn't really sure what that would be able to look like. And then just through a variety of obviously ordained circumstances, she had to leave Houghton, and I still don't really know how I got the opportunity to step in for her. It was meant to be temporarily. But yeah, I just sort of stepped in as an interim to fill a gap and coach the team right after having been on it, which was a really unique experience and a really unique way to step into coaching. And really, yeah, it was crazy. But like I said, I kind of thought I was stepping in as just a stopgap. And here I am 5 years later and holding tightly to the opportunity, I think, and really thankful for a lot. It's given me a lot. I think neither of us would say that Houghton was a place that we were going to end up. And here we are 5 years after graduating, and we bought a house here. I mean, what are we even doing? We don't know, but we're here and we're really glad to be here.
Well, I tell you what, and you guys are realizing it, and I know you know this, Houghton has a way of sucking you in and keeping you here. When Betsy and I first moved here years and years ago, we were here for 2 years and we were going to leave.
Yeah.
So this is 28 years now later. We've raised our kids here, and I tell everybody, there's not a better place in the world to raise kids. And you guys are probably realizing that now too, starting to see that, and it's pretty awesome. So you just finished your 5th year coaching, is that right?
Yeah.
So you finished 5 years of coaching. Talk a little bit about your program. I'd be interested in hearing sort of how you would describe the culture of your team. You know, aside from the all purple warm-up suits that they got and proudly parade around campus in their purple, warm-ups. How would you describe, like, what are the key principles, core concepts, if you, depending on how you refer to them, but how would you describe the culture of Houghton field hockey? And what do you enjoy most about coaching this group?
Yeah, well, I think their purple jumpsuits are a good representation of who they are right off the bat. This group of young women, especially the current team, has a lot of personality, which I think everyone who's kind of rubbing shoulders with them can vouch for. They are a really small group, but they are the loudest, craziest. They just like really bring a presence wherever they go. I always kind of joke that we'll walk onto fields and to games with the same amount of numbers as another team, or maybe even less, but like somehow it feels like we are more overwhelming and louder and more present. And so there's just really something special about this group, who is just made up of a lot of really different kinds of people, but somehow together they're just really socially and spiritually and athletically entwined. And I think that has produced something really special on and off the field, and something that we're just kind of really riding and building off of, because Houghton is kind of a place where you look at the whole athlete and figure out how to invest in them, inside of athletics and outside, and having a group of young women who's really growing together and really becoming each other's community is really special. And it is like a family. And so I would say that is a big part of who they are and what we're building off of moving forward. And, when you have that kind of familial culture, I think it lends itself to a lot of potential, just in terms of the honesty that you can have with your players on the field and off the field, and the way you can push them. And so I think it's been really special, and I love it.
Well, I'll never forget when your team came over to my house this past fall for devotions, and I didn't really know the athletes on your team super well. I mean, I knew who some of them were, but didn't really know them that well. And they showed up in their purple jumpsuits, and I was prepared to discuss and lead this devotion. And I don't know, it was probably half an hour before I even said anything, because they just.
Well, you asked them to introduce themselves.
I guess that was the start, and that took forever. And it could have gone on all night, because they were just talking and giggling and laughing, and I didn't need to have anything prepared. It would have been they
really like to share. So
they did, and it was great.
Yeah.
So Luke, I want to ask you a little bit about coaching with men's soccer. I should know this, but you've been an assistant now for 4 years or 5 years? 4 years.
Yeah, going into 5th year.
You assisted with me for 3, and then this past year with Coach McCall.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe share with us how that transpired, how you got into coaching, but maybe start back with, as a member of the team in your 4 years, what's the most memorable experience for you as being part of the men's soccer team? And then maybe how did you transition into coaching? And what's that been like as an assistant? You play a different role within your program than Hannah does with hers. Yeah. So maybe share with us a little bit about just sort of your involvement with men's soccer as an athlete, and then now as a coach.
Yeah, sure. So I was on the team for 4 years, 2010 to 2014. And I didn't play a lot. I was a backup. And I really have always said that, like, I grew into my role. I mean, you and I have had countless discussions about how I thought I was supposed to be playing, and you're just it was personal, and he pushing me down and all those things. But
Oh,
God knew that it was my place was to be a supporting player, and I think that that's something that I really kind of leaned into in my last couple of years. And you want to talk about memories. I don't really have any one specific memory that kind of sticks out. It's all just kind of like good memories. They all just kind of like fled together. I remember, friendships that I've made and kind of like lifelong brotherhoods that have been kind of formed through that. I think like if you were to talk about like one memory, it would probably be when we were in the National Christian College tournament in Florida. It was my last year, and it was the last game that we were going to be playing because we knew we weren't going to advance. And you had told me to go to play. You told me to go in for the last 5 minutes so that I could finish my career on the field. And I've forgotten my shin guards. So I had to borrow shin guards from somebody else on the bench. So that was because I was just like, what? I had forgotten to pack shin guards. It's okay, yeah. So that's one memory that I know that my wife is embarrassed by, but it's something that sticks out. But like I said, the thing that I remember the most is the relationships that I've created with guys on the team. Not just guys who I played with, but now since I've coached, guys who I've coached, even alumni before I played. Just because like when you're a part of this team, you're a part of a larger family that I've gotten to know. And, I never played with, Dan Brubaker or Eric Lefebvre, but like, I can talk to them like I have. There's guys like that you kind of, as you're a part of the team, you kind of grow closer to anyway. I'd say as I got into coaching, I was going to come back to, obviously my wife had gotten a job here and I was going to come teach music. And you had approached me and said, hey, would you be interested in, being my assistant coach? And I was like, oh, great. Like, does that mean you're firing Shilke? And he said, no, you and he would work together. And I said, oh, I guess I can do that. Fine. Okay. No, I'm just kidding. But it was really great to come back and to kind of work with some of the guys who they would have been freshmen when I was a senior. So to kind of get to spend that last year with them of their journey, and how I spent their first year with them, that was really cool. But I really enjoyed being a coach and being a part of the culture and continuing to kind of help grow the culture as it's been.
Here they come.
Yeah. Continuing to grow the culture as as much as it has been in the past year. And when you got your new job as director of athletics and Coach McCall took over, I was really excited to see where this program would go, and I think it's got a really good direction headed. We've got a lot of great recruits coming in this year. Coach McCall has been working really hard. I know this past season we didn't end up as in the place that we wanted to be, but that we were in every game. We were just this close, and it's really a great step in the right direction. And I'm really excited to kind of be a part of it and to kind of keep moving things in the right direction under Coach McCall. He's been great as a leader, and kind of getting the guys in the right mindset and understanding their roles, not just as soccer players, but as as men growing in Christ and all those things that you really want to form young men into who they're going to be. So that's a long-winded answer, I think. But nothing I do.
Well, that's all good, and I'm excited too about the future of Houghton men's soccer. My boys get to be part of it starting this next year. My youngest, and they'll be part of the program and get to play under you and Coach McCall and see that leadership sort of continue to develop and grow. And I'm anxious for them to be able to just be part of it. And that's pretty cool. So I was thinking, as you were talking, you mentioned the word, I think this is how you said it, you realized your role on the team was to be a support person to those around you. And I remember just seeing that transpire as sort of Jacob Dunnett came in and earned the spot as the starting goalkeeper your senior year. But then you turned right around and became his coach and sort of had I think, a pretty special relationship with Jacob, who was a very, very good goalkeeper in his 4 years here. And you were the primary, I was the head coach, I suppose, but for all intents and purposes, you were his coach. And I just thought that was pretty neat. But I got a Facebook memory thing came up the other day, and it was sort of Mike Amico's wedding, and you're in it. And I got to thinking, how many weddings have you been in? If not the best man, one of the groomsmen of your teammates. And I was thinking, Mike, John Carpenter.
Yeah.
Are there others that you've been in, or is it just those two that you've been in as part of the wedding party?
I've been in a couple non-soccer music.
Okay.
But yeah, those two. I've been invited to a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like our fridge is like, we were like in all these weddings of Houghton people and like going to our friends' weddings and them coming to ours. And now the fridge is full of like players' weddings, invitations. And it's like, we are old.
And that'll never stop.
Yeah.
That'll never stop. I can't tell you how many weddings I've gone to. And there were times I had to pick which wedding to go to. I had two of my players. I remember Mike Dix and Dan Miller got married on the same day, and we got invited to both, and I had to choose. Couldn't go to both. And it was, how do I choose? And we had to make a choice. But that's one of the best things is seeing your former players get married, and being at those celebrations is a lot of fun. I'll never forget yours. And the ice cream truck at your wedding was awesome.
It's okay. You can say that ours is your favorite.
It's okay.
Yours was my favorite wedding. Yeah.
You can say it. It's okay. Even though you hit a bear.
Well, is Brooks in the vicinity? Can we see Brooks, or is he?
Yeah. Let's go get him. Let's go get him and see how it goes.
I think we need to see Brooks.
Yeah, he's very much. He has a field hockey stick that he uses. I wouldn't say correctly.
As a weapon?
Not even as a weapon. He just doesn't know what to do with it. He just kind of like crushes everything with it, including and not limited to his baby brother. So it's
this might not work, huh?
It might not work. It's okay. Especially, do you say hi to Coach Webb?
Hi, Brooks. How you doing, bud?
Tell Coach Webb, tell him what you wanted to be doing right now. What do you want to watch? Oh. You want to watch VeggieTales?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's your favorite?
I'm just shoving candy into my toddler's mouth, and it's great. It's fine.
That's what you do. What it takes. If that's what works, you do it. Hi, Brooks. Who's your favorite on VeggieTales? Do you like Larry the cucumber or Bob the tomato?
Bob? Do you like Bob?
Was that Bob the tomato? No.
How Larry plays his trombone.
His tuba.
Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up here. But Brooks, it's good to see you. I miss seeing you around the office. Hopefully we'll be able to see you soon. And Hannah and Luke, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you both. Luke, you got to lean in here so we can see you.
Yeah.
And appreciate both of you. Again, Hannah and Luke, our head women's field hockey coach, assistant men's soccer coach, and Brooks, eating candy, and Ezra probably taking a nap somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Well, very good. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks for having us, Coach.
All right. Bye-bye.